Do you feel overwhelmed and confused about what God is really asking you to do with your existing business or even about getting started with a new one? Do you feel like you just don't have the clarity that you need to move forward? When I got started in business, my single thought was that I wanted to make an impact, but I really didn't know what that looked like because I needed clarity and I didn't have it. As I've watched my own business unfold over the last 10 years or more, I can really look back on that journey. It was actually a really long journey. So today I'm going to tell you a story, my story. We're going to wander through all of those ups and downs of entrepreneurship that I took. The clarity that I got that actually took me a really long time to discover can now take you a short time because of what God has really purposed me to do. God has called you and me into the next thing of his unfolding story. And for me, that is to help you get on that faster path of your own hero story, your next part of God's story. Join me. Ephesians 2:10 says, "For we are God's masterpiece, and he has created us anew in Christ Jesus so that we can do the good things, the good works he planned for us long ago." Throughout my entire Christian life, I never thought about what it meant to be a masterpiece. When I think about a masterpiece, I think of it being a one of a kind. And we are one of a kind. It is true. God breaks the mold every time he makes a new person. There's even scientific proof to back that up. But I don't want to get ahead of myself here in the story, okay? Hello, my wise woman. This is DeneenTB, your Christian business growth strategist and clarity coach. Thank you so much for being here. I want to just chat with you a little bit today about my journey and how I got to being where I am and who I am today. How I got the clarity that I know I can help you get too. So as a Christian business woman, you probably have a lot of talents and gifts and skills and abilities, right? I know. That's what comes with the overwhelm and the decision making and all the ideas that you feel like you have inside of you. There are so many things that you could do for a business. I never really saw myself as a businesswoman because I was a teacher, and for many years I did that in both public schools and private schools. I actually ended up homeschooling my own daughters. But here's the thing. When we're doing something that comes easy to us or has been learned really well, we just do it. I actually created a business teaching Spanish. At first, it was kind of an after-school enrichment program, and it did camps and those kinds of things, and it actually turned into high school level Spanish classes for homeschoolers. I helped them get out of some of their college credits. During those years, many things also happened as I served at church. As you can imagine, I was a Sunday school teacher, and I did my stint in children's church. I was also heading up the educational committee that we had for our missions, and I created kind of these elaborate experiences for children and adults at our annual mission conferences. I also had a few years of writing and directing our Christmas productions where like over 10,000 people actually attended. And I headed up the drama ministry as well for the worship arts department. Of course, this was all on a volunteer basis, right? My husband and I then got involved in teen mission trips because we both spoke Spanish. And so we got involved in that. We were doing that for almost 8 years. We even trained to be missionaries. My life was full. As you can see, I had so many of those good things that I was doing, right? I really believe that God brings us through all of these things in our life to really equip us for that next good thing or good work that he has for us, just as Ephesians 2:10 says. And I never thought about business. When I think about business, I think about sales. As the girls got older and that missionary door closed, I was really looking for clarity. I was looking for what is my next step. I knew I did not want to go back to teaching Spanish to homeschoolers. I had stopped for a couple of years as we trained to be missionaries. So I did the next best thing. I did the thing that I knew how to do. I knew how to teach. I had one that was going off to college. I had one who was in middle school, and they could kind of regulate themselves in homeschool. So I decided I was going to do a part-time job in the school district as a teacher's assistant. They needed someone who spoke Spanish to be on the playground. So I worked in the morning in the first grade classroom, and I was on the playground in the lunchtime spot, and then I would just go home. That job lasted 2 weeks. It was something that I just couldn't do. I'd been out of the public school for so long, I just physically could not do it. And I remember that last day of going home in the car. I mean, I literally quit on a Friday and said, I'm sorry, I cannot come back on Monday. And I was crying, and I was like calling out to God and praying and yelling. I don't know, all those things you do when you're really super tired and super frustrated. And something happened to me that has never happened to me before. I actually heard like almost an audible voice. This thing popped into my head anyway that I would never have thought of. And it said something like this. It said, well, your sister does Blessings Unlimited. Now see, I had just been going, God, what am I supposed to do? What am I going to do? What am I supposed to do next? And that's what happened. Well, your sister does Blessings Unlimited. Well, at the time, Blessings Unlimited is a direct selling company. You know what I said to God? You know what I said to that idea in my head out loud? I said, so. And it took me 4 months of God bringing it back to my mind, bringing it back to my mind, bringing it back to my mind, putting it in my journal, that I actually got started in direct sales. And of course, I'm the type of person that jumps in with all the learning. I need to know everything, right? So the clarity for me at that time was learning more about the company. It was learning more about sales. It was going to the library and pulling books off the shelf. It was listening to, like I call YouTube University, listening to everything that I could, learning all the things that I could. That's one way to get clarity. That was the way that I started to do it. I tried to figure out things on my own because I really didn't like this party plan that was there. It wasn't my style. I liked teaching. So I tried to make this business my own. And I was like trying to think of ways that I could do that. And some of the clarity that I got was I should do workshops. I should teach hospitality, or I should teach more about the story of Mary and Martha, which is what our company turned into, the name. I should do all kinds of journaling and things that I really love to do. What I found really frustrating was that most of these parties, or even these workshops that I was creating around this business, ended with a woman saying, oh, I'm going to have to call my husband so I can spend $40. So I got really serious about who has money. Now I was selling Christian products for their home, for hospitality, dishes, and things for display. And it came to me that maybe I should target Christian businesswomen. So in order to do that, I stepped into the next thing that became very clear for me, that gave me clarity, because sometimes that clarity comes from just action. You have to do something to see if it's going to work out, right? And so what I did was I started a networking group for Christian businesswomen. What a better way to get the actual women in front of me who could afford my products, who could see my products, and who would buy my products. So that was the next step, just getting in front of my people. Now, you know, God always has a bigger plan than we do. And so I'm going to keep going because it opens up. But I think what's really important is that clarity comes from taking that step, taking that action. And so you need to do the next thing, right? Do the next thing. So as I was getting started in this, I'm a couple of years into my direct sales, and now I've got this networking group as well. And it was a membership group. So people, my business expanded because they were part of the membership of the networking group as well. So then I decided, you know, I really need to move away from just selling these products. And I really want to do some of the things that were coming up, like more about what these Christian business women were really needing. And I think what they really needed was a way to grow their faith that was not dependent on how much they could actually get to church. So I hired myself a coach. Now, that's a part of clarity as well, because sometimes we just don't know what we don't know, kind of thing. And so what we need to do is we need to have that clarity of someone else looking at us from the outside and giving us ideas. So I hired a branding coach, and they helped me to create a website with this amazing product, this amazing thing that I knew every Christian businesswoman needed. That was my problem. They needed it. They didn't know they needed it. I created that something that I knew they needed it, but they didn't know, so therefore they didn't want it. So what happens? Nobody buys from you. It was one of those steps that now I can see very clearly that is part of my Calling Clarity program, because we need to know what they want. And so that's a very important step in what I do. But I had to learn it the hard way by paying for a branding coach, by paying for a website when it wasn't necessary. Not in the way that I know how to do it now. But then it was okay. I started doing retreats with my women. I started doing workshops for my women. I got really good at finding places for us to meet as a networking group, for me to do my different workshops. And I had workshops on the DISC because I love personality profiling and I had learned about it. Every time I take something in, I like to push it back out in my style. I had done a lot of networking, so I was doing workshops on networking, about procrastination and how to stay consistent in your business. And I learned all about social media because the year that Facebook came out, my oldest daughter was about 15 years old. So mom had to learn it. So I was one of those people who, for my age group, understood Facebook and the Facebook groups. I got to know LinkedIn super well, loved it. And then once Instagram came out, I also jumped right on board with that. I'm an early adopter. That's part of clarity. Again, is getting those, being able to be a risk taker, being able to be an early adopter, to just go for it, do the action. That helped get clarity a lot. So that's what I did. I discovered all of these things. I also discovered Strength Finders through another coach that helped me along the way. During this whole time, I also took another step, this clarity of, I really felt compelled. And you may say, I felt like it was God really telling me, find a place for these women so that they can gather, so they can be together, whether they're in the networking group or for a workshop or for your friends who want to do workshops and have space for their teams and their groups. And I said, okay, tried it my way, didn't work out, finally took that leap of faith and opened what I called a business and educational center. Eye-opening, so much clarity. I just know that during that time, I worked really hard. I got to be known. I got to understand how to talk to people. The networking just went bigger and bigger and bigger. But that only lasted for 18 months. 18 months later, I had to close that business and educational center. And it was really sad because I had invested a lot of money and I lost a lot of money. And I didn't understand at first what that was all about. But, God always has a plan. Now people knew me. They all knew that I helped Christian business women and a few good men along the way as well. But once that closed down, it opened me up to really start to write my book. Now, I have to back up a little bit about that. During that 18 months, or even a little bit before that, I had an accountability partner, and she and I actually, besides being accountability partners, we started to develop some programs together, and we started to do some workshops and master classes and things like that together. And what we had decided that at the end of that year, when I closed the Business Educational Center, we had already decided to do a challenge the following January. So it closed in November. So by January, I knew that I was going to be involved in this challenge. And through the challenge and what we put together for the challenge, that's what led to me writing my first book. And now that I've done countless numbers of kind of book clubs with the book, I've realized that all those things that I learned, all those things that I was giving in workshops, all of those things that I was teaching to my networking group of women, all the women that had come for different things that I was presenting, whether it was social media or for business or for spiritual growth, all those things ended up in my book. They ended up in one place. And I got to really put the exercises in the book that gave other people clarity about what God wanted them to do, how God had designed them, and all of those things. Because I had learned it for myself. I had learned what my values were. I had learned what my strengths were. I had learned how my personality really influenced the type of coach I had become. Yeah, I was finally calling myself a coach at that time. So that was really great. I started doing that as I was writing the book because people were calling me a coach. So I was really looking at how I had done all this for myself, had seen these biblical women in a new way, and that we were really able to connect our faith and our business with watching these mentors from the Bible and how we could really do that. So yes, while I was writing the book, I really did start coaching. And it was really, first off, an extension of the clarity retreats I had already been doing every year for women in January when we want to get clarity for the year, right? And I had already been doing that with groups and things like that. So I just created more material and I added group coaching and individual coaching and called it Calling Clarity. I also took all of those pieces of what I call the mosaic masterpiece model, the experiences people have, the expertise, the talents, the spiritual gifts, and of course the strengths and the values and the personality profiling to really create what I have today. And what is that? Well, it's a way for you to get clarity so much faster, a way for you to create the masterpiece that you are, the mosaic masterpiece, taking those pieces from your life to create the business that is perfect for you, that is unique, that will attract your ideal clients. All these pieces of your life, this is what I help bring together so that you can understand how God has brought you through each of these things, giving you each of these experiences, and you are able to really hone in on how you are best equipped to do the next thing for your business. Take that next step, get that first step started. You know, it doesn't matter if you're just starting out or if you've had a business for a while, or if you just feel like maybe you're at a place in your business where you just need something new or something different to happen. This clarity process is really designed to help you see God's design of you. I have pulled from these years of experience and of the learning that I've done to really create Calling Clarity, to give you clarity. So don't spend another year or 2 or 10 waiting to see what God has for you. If you're here, if you're in front of me on this video, then you are here for a reason. God has you here for a reason. Trust that he's putting you in front of the resource that you need. He makes a way, right? He makes a way. So let's have a call. That's the best way for us to get connected. I call it a clarity call. I'll put that link down in the description so that you can make your appointment to chat with me so that we can see if we're a right fit, if I'm the one to help you get the clarity that you need. You know, the beauty of a mosaic is that all those pieces do not have to look perfect. You know, when you step back from a mosaic, as you might have done in a museum, and you take it all in, you see how all those unique pieces fit together to make something totally new. And that's what God did for my business. And that's what he wants for you too. You know, my pieces have created a business that for me is so satisfying. I have a lifestyle that is suited for who I am and what God wants to accomplish through me. And I know that I'm in the right place to make the impact. Remember, that's the word I wanted in the beginning, to make the impact that really He wants for me to make right now in my life. So let me help you get to that place too. That's all I really want for you. This is DeneenTB. Thanks for listening to my story. Make sure to do all the things for the video, like, comment, tell me a little bit about your story, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, especially if you're enjoying the content here. Have a great rest of your day, and as always, be filled to overflowing.